All right, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Do Hard Things podcast. I'm Jay Teagues, and I have with me lovely, ravishing Angie Bertrand. How are you doing this morning, Angie?
Hey, I am doing well, thanks. How are you doing?
Doing great. Happy Monday. Getting ready to, it's first day of school this morning,
Yeah,
so there's a little bit of nervousness in our household, but also some level of excitement as we get back into the swing of things. So that's what's happening here.
first day of school is always never fun, but yes, it's fun. You get to wear
Yeah,
your new clothes. Hopefully, did they get new school outfits, like first day of
yeah.
school outfits?
Yeah, well, show me the money. Yeah, we spend a lot of money in outfits
Yeah.
and get that all squared away. So, but yeah, they're excited. It's the excited nervousness.
Hmm.
Although this is their for mine. Last year was really like because it was the first year of high school, and so my three are already used to that rodeo, and so they're not nearly as nervous as they were last year.
Hmm.
However, Lacey's daughter, that's her first day of high school. So big nerves there. We get that big transition period. That's being a
Wow.
freshman. That's tough.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, it is.
but all right. Well, today we're going to talk about sometimes we don't always finish what we started, and that can lead to like disappointment, shame, frustration, and it can erode our confidence. And DNF stands for do not finish, but I want to help you. We want to help you rewrite the script to did not falter, give you some different perspectives when we fall short of our goal and we don't quite cross the finish line, to take those lessons learned instead of eroding your confidence and dealing with the negative emotion of it, flipping the script on that so you can use that uh, as for strength, so you can get back on the saddle and finish what you started. Remember why you started and finish the doggone thing. Before we get into that, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Make sure you smash that subscribe button so you're notified of future episodes. Leave us a review on iTunes, as they go a long way to just expanding the algorithm. And people, from those reviews, they'll stumble into the podcast, and share it with a couple of your friends. There's no doubt that the topics that we talk about are going to be helpful. This episode is sponsored by The Forge. The Forge is a high performance community over at the Lions Guide, lionsguide.com. The Lions Guide is a leadership development academy whose mission is to help everyday leaders become world class leaders. The Forge is it's basically a collective of growth-minded people where we network, we have frameworks, challenges, and accountability to help you achieve the next level. You can read podcasts or you can listen to podcasts, you can read books on your own, but this is where you connect with other growth-minded people. We have a book club in there where we talk about the book of the month, and we have a variety of different calls and high performance topics, so you can step up and lead better in your life. We're also brought to you by Do Hard Things Nation apparel. So if you go to dohardthingsnation.com, grab yourself some high quality apparel to inspire you to do hard things. Got my Goal Crusher shirt on today. I'm feeling super, do hard things. When you're wearing, motivational gear like this, is super comfortable, just inspires you to get up and go kick ass. So 9th September, we still have some spots available for the Do Hard Things 5K and 9.11 mile run. Well, we have a virtual option. So go to dohardthingsnation.com if you want to register there. We're super excited about that. We're less than a month out. I think we're like down to 20-ish days, and super excited about it. Lacey got the medals in, and they're pretty freaking rad. I'm pretty excited about it. So
Yeah, I'm excited.
all right. So let's talk about the DNF dilemma, navigating the mental marathon of unfinished races. And it's not just races. I mean, we talk a lot about running here, but this
Hmm.
is like just things in your life. Whether, I think that races are a great metaphor, and it's a great training ground
Hmm.
that enable you to just push yourself, and that transitions nicely to other aspects of your life. But this isn't just races. This is anything in your life. How do you navigate the emotional dilemma of not finishing? So, Angie, what are your initial thoughts about this topic?
Ooh, oh man, it can be tough, So I remember when I started running, and my first goal was, well, the only reason I started running was to run a Ragnar race that I was invited to. And I thankfully, I was invited, a, a, I guess about a year out, and so I had time to train and all that. But you can build up these thoughts about, I was terrified that I wouldn't finish, terrified, like I had built this up in my, I'm like, oh my god, I've got to finish, and thankfully I did. But if you don't prepare yourself for the possibility of not finishing and how you're going to deal with that, I think it can be a pretty devastating thing.
Yeah. Yeah. uh, because you put so much preparation, you go through
Yeah.
this whole cycle of excitement. I think
Hmm.
that we have this drive for change and a drive for newness. So when you
Hmm.
say, "Hey, I'm gonna take this event on," you put in a lot. I mean, we put in a lot of training hours. You go get the
Yeah.
gear. You're excited to be around, everyone, and you're doing all of this work leading up to the event.
Well, hey, I remember being injured at one point during training. So I took a spin class, and I remember being able to take the spin class with no pain. And I was so emotional after the spin class. I was thanking the instructor. I was like, "Thank you so much for having the spin class," and I was able to participate with no pain. And I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to get back on track as long as I keep coming here while I'm healing. I think I'd gotten some I can't remember. Anyway, but I was able to ride the stationary bike, and I'm like, and I had tears in my eyes, and she's like, "Oh my god, you're gonna make me cry." I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm just so excited that I'm gonna be able to complete the training to be able to do the thing." If that gives you any idea how much I had built this up in my brain, I hadn't prepared myself for failure. I mean, it was just such an emotional thing. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, the excitement just overshadows everything else.
yeah, yeah,
And but sometimes when we fall short, though, that it gets to it's the complete opposite. You can do a complete 180 in your mind, because you can go from this like peak of excitement to like, shit, I didn't make it, so I must suck, I'm awful,
hmm,
I'm horrible, I have no confidence now. The disappointment and the shame associated, and just the frustration, is just like, why did I even do this in the first place? And you just like question your whole existence.
yeah,
And that's like you experience the whole gamut of it, especially when you aren't able to finish it.
hmm,
And so, I don't know, a DNF can seem like it just undermines everything that you've done, and it can really make you feel like pretty low.
hmm,
And what I would, what, but especially we live in a society where you're always supposed to finish what you start. We don't fail.
hmm,
You're almost like some type of loser if you do fall short and fail. And so a lot of people don't even toe the start line because of that.
yeah,
And usually when I'm training athletes, that's one of the biggest things that they're scared of. Like, if I don't finish this, like, what are other people going to think of me? They're
hmm,
so worried about and that's how powerful that has been ingrained. It's toxic. It's a toxic thing because it holds us back from even towing the starting line oftentimes.
What are other people gonna think of me? What am I gonna think of myself?
Yes, yes. And so when the failure does happen, it just magnifies all of that, because you already have that in the back of your mind, and now you just let the genie out of the bottle, and it can
Mhm,
really really mess you up mentally.
mhm,
And so, and I don't know. I remember this wasn't a. I remember one time that I failed at something, and I felt so low. So in the military is very much a just performance based. You got to finish things. You got to do things. Or quitting or failing is just not. There's a lot of pressure to not quit or fail. I mean, we're the army, right? So we have to ingrain that indomitable spirit and complete the mission. Well, I went to air assault school. And air assault school is a 10-day course where they teach you how to rappel from helicopter. They teach you basically how to use an aircraft in combat, and you're as a soldier, like how to properly board the aircraft, the capabilities of a helicopter, and ultimately you finish up with rappelling. And through that, they have like an obstacle course, and you got to do a bunch of ruck marching, and there's a lot of physical demands with it, but it's mentally and physically demanding. You have a very short amount of time to learn the concepts. And there's a portion called the sling load phase. And that's where you take uh, when a helicopter is carrying equipment beneath it, the sling, it has to be packaged a certain way. And part of the training is that you're there to inspect it, to make sure that the equipment's going to make it there. And they've got a couple different bags. They've got, you hook up like a water buffalo, you hook up a Humvee, and you're basically looking for faults in it. You have a very short amount. It's a very attention to detail. Anyway, bottom line is, when I was in Hawaii, I mean, you're expected as a leader, you have to go through this course. Like everyone, it's an air assault. It was a light infantry division, and air assault was one of the primary means of transportation. You're just expected to go and get to school. And as a young NCO, where I was a leader, I was super excited to go because it was like an Army school. This is what, they consider, some people call it the 10 hardest days in the Army, which is anyway, it's an exciting school to go to. You're proud because you get to wear a little badge when you complete it, and it's just expected of you when you go there. And so I was super excited, but I failed the sling load phase, and I had missed a couple gigs, and you only have two attempts and you're out, and I was devastated. I don't fail. I'm a really good soldier. I mean, at least that's how I perceive myself to be. And I was a leader, and I had to go back to my unit and tell, face my boss and my soldiers that I had failed this, something that everyone's expected to do. And I felt like I was just, I thought I was a good soldier, and now I'm just worthless. Like, I'm just like, kick me out. Like, I'm a piece of shit. Like I am, why am I even here? I mean, I went through the whole gamut of negative emotion, of shame and guilt, and I'm not worthy of leading troops, and I'm not worthy of anything.
Yeah.
And I beat myself up so bad. And when I got back, I thought my boss's boss, they're going to rip me apart. And they didn't. My first sergeant was like, well, when are you going back? You got to get this thing done. Like, what, you okay? Like, and I remember that, like, I thought the worst. I was expecting like my ass to get chewed, and and no one really said anything. Like, it was just like, and my leader surprised me, pulled me aside. I'm like, it's going to be okay. What do you need to do? How can we help you? What do you need to practice? And gave me my sense of confidence back. But that initial emotion of like, get on the back of the truck, you're going back to your unit.
Yeah.
Was awful.
Yeah.
And I remember that vividly because it was one time where I really put myself through the ringer emotionally on that. And I went back 2 weeks later, and I completed it. And I tell you what, that victory of completing that, going back, bolstered my confidence so much. And it meant so much more to me to complete that course, because I had overcome all of those negative emotions that I had felt, and I earned it, and I don't know, I just learned a lot of valuable lessons about failure in that specific incident, because that was like the first time in my life that I had experienced I perceived to be a huge failure. What about you? Have you ever had like a big failure?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, this year I signed up for the 50 mile at Bad Dog and the 100K at Ultrapalooza, but my training has not been where it should be. So maybe this isn't the best example, but to me, I've deferred both races to next year, and I had built up this plan of doing both, and this is the first time I've deferred anything as far as racing goes. And so, yeah, I mean, that was really tough. On the job, there's been times I've went out and, I'm a photographer, and I've just completely not captured the event or the moment and the most important thing in the best way possible. And I get back to the office, and I'm looking, I'm pulling them up, and I'm looking at them like, oh my God, this is horrible. Like, I thought I was a photographer. Maybe I'm just really a plumber. Like, no offense to plumbers, but you know what I'm saying? Like maybe I'm not really a photographer. Like, these things go through my brain, and I know I know I'm good at what I do, but I don't always execute. I'm not always great at it. This weekend I went and took photos of the St. Louis Cardinal Military Appreciation Night. And I don't feel like it was the best work. And I was so excited to go and so excited to take photos, and then I get back and I'm looking at it, I'm like, "Jiminy Christmas, what? Are you a photographer? Are you really a photographer?" You know what I mean? Like, it's and then I have to go through, like, I go through this whole self dialogue, like, "Okay, what did you do wrong? How can you do it better?" But it takes a little while to get there, to before I get my bearings back, and I'm like, "Okay, let how can we do this better next time?" But that initial, like, "Ugh," is just, like,
Yeah.
so gut-wrenching and so, like, it's like, I just sometimes I'm just s and it's crazy, but it's, like, so ashamed to even wanna show my face to my coworkers, you know? It's just like,
Yeah.
I didn't do the best. Like, I set a really high standard for myself. Sometimes an unbelievably high standard for myself. And that can be good because I push, like, nobody can push me as hard as I push myself. Um, and and the same goes for nobody can talk horrible to me as as good as I can do sometimes for a very short period of time. Now, I'm not an extended like, I don't that doesn't carry on to a ve I can rein that in, right? But those initial words sometimes is just like, "Oh my god, like, what
Yeah.
did you do? What were you thinking? What is wrong? Were you even awake? Like, did you just take a nap? Like, what is going on?" You know?
Yeah.
Um, so
Sometimes we're
yes,
just not always on our A game.
I've had those moments, and I know the good thing is being a part of the Forge, shameless plug for the Forge, I've learned that, failure is not a bad thing. Um, did not finish, a DNF, right, is not a bad thing. Failure is not the end all be all. Failure does not define me. Failure is actually a great thing because it is a stepping stone to doing better and to getting better, and it means that I actually did something. It means that I put myself out there. It means that I'm learning, because the only way to learn really is to fail and suck at something, because it forces you to do better, be better, get better, right? But I didn't feel that way prior to being a part of the Forge, and doing this self-development and working on myself. Like, failure paralyzed me in a lot of ways. Failure stopped me from even starting. The fear of failure stopped me from even taking that step to be brave enough to put myself out there to do things. So, luckily, I've been able to reframe failure into a way that I know that that is the only way to get better, is to fail at something, and then reassess, see what I can do better, and even if that means changing the, um, the goal, the short-term goal.
Yeah.
Maybe my goal was 100K. All right, hey, let's rein that back, and let's change that goal now back to a 50K. Let's meet that 50K goal, and then we'll reassess, and then we'll go up to a 50 miler instead of jumping up to a 100K, right? Um, Sometimes it helps you put things into perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to push the limits. That's what pulls you out of your comfort zone. That's where the greatest growth happens, is when you pull yourself out of the comfort zone. And we don't want to create a habit of failing all the time, because that will erode your confidence. But I think you need to find opportunities to fail. And there's this Japanese term called a misogi, and it's a Shinto, like, I wouldn't say religious. It's a spiritual event that you should put yourself through, uh, where you're physically and mentally challenged, and you have at least a 50% chance of failure. And it's something that I read about this in, I forgot the name of the book. No, shoot, the Comfort Crisis, I think, or, well, I don't know, something I really recently stumbled across. I've been really doing, like, some research on it, because I find that throughout life I've been doing this to myself, not really realizing that there was a term for it.
Mm,
But pushing the limits of yourself, and through that process of failure from time to time. You don't want to fail all the time,
right.
but you want to push the envelope where you have failure, so you can experience these emotions and sit
Mhm.
with them, and learn your lessons and learn how to rebuild and develop the grit and discipline to get back up when you've been knocked down.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite quotes is get knocked down 7 times, get up 8, right? And you
Mm-hmm.
got to keep getting up. But you want to talk about doing hard things. It's one of the hardest things to do when the echo chamber of your mind is I'm worthless. I know everyone thinks I'm a piece of, whatever, because of a failure. And I just want people to rewrite that script of, failure to falter, did not finish to did not falter. What lessons did you learn? It's okay. It's okay that you failed. As a coach, I'm going to challenge you to be like, okay, what lessons learned? How are we going to get back up on this horse, and how are we going to finish what we started? Because if you don't go back and finish, your subconscious is going to keep score, and that's you just taking a big hit on your confidence. So when you failed, that doesn't mean we're done. We're going to move on to something else. You got to get back. You have to get back there and finish it.
Yeah. We were talking about this last night, and it's funny the different perspectives that we have, because we're talking about trying to find this balance, right, between a couple of the people that I had dinner with. They were like, yeah, my inner voice is like this, or is currently. One person is like, is currently, and the other one is like, was this horrible person that anytime I I made a mistake, or anytime I failed, that inner voice was like, oh, you're worthless, you're horrible, you're a piece of crap. Why did you even do this? Don't ever do it again. You should have known. You could never do that, right? Um, and luckily, they said, well, they've been able to grow out of that horrible voice that's constantly berating them and talking down to them, and into this, you know what? It's all right. It's cool. It's all right if I fail. I'm just not going to put too much pressure on myself. But then they're like, now am I not putting enough pressure on myself? So they're trying to find this balance of um, talking themselves through, keeping themselves motivated. But we all know motivation, wanes. So you got to build the habits. But it's just finding this balance of, how do I keep myself accountable? How do I keep myself going? How do I what do I need to reach my goals? Am I setting my goals high enough now? Where's that balance at? How do we get that? And what happens if we maybe lose it?
Yeah,
It was
and
just a really interesting conversation.
that just comes with practice. It comes with practice, because it's goal setting, vision building, and in placing the proper habits and managing life to achieve them. Because sometimes we shoot for the moon sometimes, and we like you said, you set off to do some of these bigger races. It's probably maybe a little bit more than you could chew. Maybe we should have picked something intermediate. But sometimes shooting for the moon, I mean, great things are going to happen when you do that as well. So it's a constant. You have to be in the arena of high performance and setting goals and vision building, and keep trying. And the more that you do that, the more that you're engaged with that, the better you become at it. I mean, I still think that sometimes I bite off more than I could chew. I mean, I'm notorious for that. That's one of my I'll end up taking on too much sometimes. That's probably I get too ambitious sometimes, and I take on too much.
Yeah.
But I've become better at that just by continually engaging in it. And so I think it's a learned skill and discipline.
Yeah.
But there are some strategies to it where you can get better at it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so how do we, there's an emotional roller coaster that comes with starting something new and then not finishing it. I just want to encourage people to think about, and I want people to take things on and get out of this. I'm not going to start because of the fear of failure. Mm-hmm. That is what's holding you back. And there's 3 types of lives. We have the caged life, the comfortable life, and the fully charged life. Mm-hmm. And the caged life is like a mental prison. Like we can't do anything because we're so scared of judgment, or we have all this external stuff that's happened to us. Could be, we've got the rocks in the backpack. It's like, it's trauma, it's depression, it's all the stuff that's happened. So maybe it's financially, like we've just kind of created this prison for ourselves. We can't break out. Mm-hmm. The next step of this, once you can break out from the cage life, is the comfortable life, which so many people are living in. They got a good paying job, and they're just in comfort zone where everything's good. They're enjoying DoorDash. They got, the job, but they still feel maybe a little bit unsettled, they want something else. And the fully charged life is like getting out there and living life and making the most out of it. And that's where you've got to break into that charged life. You've got to set some lofty goals for yourself, and failure is part of that process. And I just say when people fail, I'm kind of excited. I'm happy for them because they push the limits of themselves. Like as I'm coaching people and whatnot, okay, you get a day for your pity party, then you got to shake it off. And then we have to come up with, okay, what are the strategies? How are we going to get back on this horse, and how are we going to finish this thing? Because we can't leave it left undone.
Well, and celebrate the fact that you even started. How about that? Celebrate the fact that you put yourself out there and you took that step and you started something and you attempted it. That, really hard thing. There's so many really hard things that people don't even start. I know I used to be one of them for fear of failure. So just the fact that you were able to put your foot forward and start something, man, celebrate that for a moment,
Absolutely. Yes. No, you got to celebrate. You got to celebrate the start and have reverence for that, right? Have reverence for that process. So,
yep.
But yeah, so I'm interested in this topic of DNF because I think it's interesting, and I'm inspired by innovation and I think of like Elon Musk and sending rockets into space, and he was quoted recently with because a lot of the rockets are exploding, they're failing left and right. Like, like, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with the financial loss of that? Like, hey, we celebrate it because we're pushing the absolute limits of our creation to achieve our objective, which is get to Mars. And so they celebrate it. So when there's failure, they celebrate it. Yeah. And I think that's the mindset. And people look at that kind of crazy because we're so ingrained with failure's bad. Mm-hmm. And it's not. Continued failure over and over again is, but failing and learning lessons and not making the same mistakes again and getting back and trying again, that's good. That's good for all of us.
Yeah. Well, it's something in roller derby during practice when people fall, we clap. Because so many people are scared to fall, but you have to learn to fall correctly. You have to learn to fall small. And so we've started going back to clapping when people fall now to motivate them. Like, hey, yeah, you did it. You're trying. That's why you fail, because you're pushing the limits. Now get back up and try it again. Yeah.
Learn to fall small.
Yeah.
I love it. Reminds me like my kids when they're learning how to walk, right?
Yeah.
You got to get up there. You got to get out there and you got to push yourself. And when they fall, right, you don't freak out as a parent, right? You same thing.
It just makes me think of something I read. I don't remember where I read it, but it's like, you don't look at babies as they're trying to walk and you're like, oh my God, your baby's so damn stupid. Why do they keep falling? Oh my God, look at that baby. That's such a dumb baby.
Yeah.
Baby, why can't
Yeah, you cheer them on, right? You get back up. You can do this, right? You're not gonna be like, dumb baby. Look at you, loser. That's how we treat ourselves sometimes. I mean, we treat ourselves like we're trying to walk and we're like, we fall, like, oh. We wouldn't talk to ourselves. We talk to ourselves like worse than we talk to anyone else.
Yes. Stop. Yes. Treat yourself like you're a toddler and you're trying to walk, because if you're the type of person that looks at your friends and is like, why is your toddler so stupid? Why is your baby so dumb? Maybe you've got a lot more reevaluating to do. I'm just saying. Absolutely.
Fall small, celebrate it, get back up, right? Get back up and do it again. That's what you encourage your baby to do. Get back up. You got this. Yeah. Take another step, right? And that's what we got to do for ourselves.
Yep.
And so we can't sit in the pity party and just, I think having awareness of the cycle and why we do this can help you, overcome those negative emotions that you have. And so I just encourage you, if you're listening to this, what's that thing? What's that one thing that you want to complete? Maybe you're holding yourself back because you're scared of failure. What's one step forward to get outside of your comfort zone, to take a step toward that? And if you've recently failed at something, or if you've had a failure, what's that one thing that you probably need to go back and just tackle? And how would it feel to get that thing done, whatever that is for you.
Yep.
Maybe you're keeping score on that thing mentally. What would it take for you to get back up and tackle it again? And how would you feel if you finished it? How would you feel if you went back and finished it?
Yeah.
And yeah, so we all deal with that, and that's all right. So hopefully this did not finish, did not falter. I want you to rewrite the script on that one.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
All right. Well, all right. So I'm excited about this morning's weekly winner, and this person is going to murder me because they don't like the spotlight, and that's okay. That's okay.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
This is one of my favorite people on earth. This is Nadine Albrecht, and she's going to murder me for being. But and I don't want to go into a lot of details because she doesn't like the spotlight, so this is probably mortifying enough for her. But Nadine she runs her book club in the Forge, and she's just amazing. You want to talk about just grit and discipline and just getting back up when getting knocked down from time to time. And she's been I don't know, she's just been an invaluable person in my life as far as just bouncing ideas off of, and we call it Nadine's nuggets. She has these nuggets of wisdom from her own personal falling down, getting back up that she shares, and she inspires me and all of us. And so Nadine, you're this week's weekly winner. We appreciate what you do, all of the wisdom that you share with us. And she's when life knocks you down, she's the type of person that will help you get back up, and she shares with her journey as well. So
absolutely,
Nadine, we appreciate you. And she's been sharing her physical journey as well, and like I said, just inspiring person. So Nadine, keep doing hard things.
That's right.
All right, so that's it. That's all I got. It's Monday. Got to get the kids off. We got to go fight traffic now with the school buses and everyone dropping their kids off at school. So that's going to be fun.
Yep. I'm going to go try to be a photographer. Put my best foot forward on Monday.
Yes.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, every day is a new opportunity to try something new, to get back up, to improve your life. And that's what this podcast is all about. Just hopefully this gave you some level of encouragement. If you've been knocked down, get back up.
Yep.
And that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. So. Hey, look, go smile. Go, when you get knocked down, just think about it. Just smile for a second, get back up, look at somebody else, be like, hey, I fell. I'm smiling.
Dumb
Let's
baby.
keep going.
Stupid babies.
Stupid babies falling everywhere.
That's so funny. Get back up. All right. Hey, everybody, do hard things. Make someone smile. We'll see you guys next episode.
All right. Peace out.